I think Kelsey's a sneaky, interesting bet for MVP of this game. But of course, the big storyline with Kansas City is that they are on the verge of a three-peat. This is what Travis Kelce had to say about that on the New Heights podcast with his brother.
It hasn't been mentioned one time outside of being asked about it in the media. Everybody in the building is just focused on, doing their job. That's how we got here. That's how we got the first one. That's how we got the second one. It's the only way you win football games and get to the Super Bowl is if you focus on the task at hand.
For sure.
And we got a huge task coming up.
Okay, so, I mean, we love Travis Kelce and all that kind of stuff. There's literally no way that's true, right? There's no conceivable chance, Adam Schefter, that you are on the verge of doing something that no team has done in the Super Bowl era, and it has not come up in conversation.
I think it can be true. I think it's on everybody's mind. They don't have to talk about it, but they could think about it, right? Greenie, you think about ratings for this show. Do we talk about ratings and how well this show's doing?
Every day.
No, we don't.
Oh, yes, we
never talk about it. I know you're thinking about it. Think about it.
If you go to my Twitter feed yesterday, I posted 2 ratings things. We just had our second highest rated month in January, and Sunday was up 10% year over year.
Well, maybe Travis Kelce that could be that. I don't think it's an active conversation. I don't think you're sitting there at practice or at lunch saying, boy, where do you think we go in the history books if you become the first NFL team to ever win 3 Super Bowls? But I don't know how you can't think about something that hangs over this game, this franchise, this season, this league, because it's history. You don't have to talk about it. It's just there every single day.
So if there's one thing that we've all learned from listening to Nick Saban all this season on College Game Day, he uses the word process all the time, so much that it sort of it goes in one ear and out the other. But that's really what it is. And I think what Travis is saying there really is true. They're all aware, to Shefty's point, of what is out there. But they know, D-Wood, that the way to get there is by taking care of this practice, this moment, all these little things that eventually get you to that place.
Yeah, absolutely. And even in the locker room, you know, I'm sure amongst guys, that's something that's brought up, but it ultimately does go back to the process. You know, I remember being in, going on to my first Super Bowl, it just felt like you were in a dark tunnel. Because everything we did was process, you weren't allowed to go past the next meeting, the next practice, the next session. It was all about that, just trying to do your job and get better just a little bit more. It wasn't until after the Super Bowl, when the confetti came down, that I actually felt like, man, I'm actually seeing the light for the first time all season long. Because it just felt like Bill kept you in the moment. He never allowed you to just think outside of that. You were always focused on the job at hand.
My experience is so different because, to your point, I'm in my 10th year. It's my first time ever in the playoffs. We make it all the way to the Super Bowl. I have a twin brother, so I'd already been to 4 Super Bowls of watching him do it. So when I got there, that 2-week build-up, I'm watching everything. I'm watching what's on TV. I'm listening to everything. I can already see the confetti falling and what I'm going to be doing to celebrate, because I feel like when you get to that point, no one thinks about, like, man, what if we get in the fourth quarter and we don't make the play to win this game? You have already thought about what it's going to feel like to be a Super Bowl champion. So I do think these guys are constantly, it's on their mind. A guy like Travis Kelce, what does that mean for me? The list of tight ends, Tony Gonzalez, Gronkowski, I have 3 of them in a row, what I've been able to do. So I definitely think it's on their mind. You're not actively talking about it, but you've thought about what it's going to be.
So I think what helps with both of you guys are talking about, when you think about the Patriots teams that you guys played on, and also this Chiefs team that is trying to three-peat for the first time since the merger, is culture. And having a solid foundation, and it all starts at the top, from ownership to the GM to the head coach, and then assistant coaches, and then the players being an extension of the coaching staff and that whole nine. Culture means everything, and that's why you guys have a Super Bowl ring.
And Shefty, you and I work on Sundays with Teddy Bruschi. And I've learned so much just from sitting with him and listening to the way his mentality works. And he will tell you anytime you want to talk about it with extraordinary pain, how much it still kills those guys that they didn't finish the perfect season, because it's something they would have had over everyone. That literally anyone could question, we did something that no one had ever done. And that's what this three-peat is, whether they're thinking about it now or not. It's the ultimate trump card in any conversation. Are you better than this team? Are you better than that team? You know what? Did they win 3 in a row? No, they didn't. We did. End of conversation.
I think when you get to the level that the Chiefs are at, the production that they've produced over the years, the wins don't mean as much as the losses do. The losses would resonate more with them and hurt them more than a victory would feel good. And so you're trying to go for the three-peat, but you're trying to avoid the pain that Teddy Bruschi has told you about, that he feels to this day. You don't want that feeling, especially when you're this close to history. And again, they're not talking about it, but we can only imagine what it would be like and what it would feel like to be that first NFL team when that confetti's coming down, D-Wood, right? And they have it coming down, and they can let themselves go and know that they are the first team in NFL history to ever win 3 straight Super Bowls.
You know what I hope it isn't for them, and I don't know this, and I don't even know them, so I don't know why I'm putting it in this context, but I was in the room when the Bulls, the Jordan Bulls, won their first, their second, and their third championships. The first in the locker room afterwards was a celebration the likes of which I'd never seen in my entire, I've never seen a collection of people that happy. The second one was a little more muted. The third one I would describe as a celebration of relief.
Wow,
Thank
that's what I'm
God
talking about.
we did it. Wow. Like there was so much pressure on them to do it. And I think to that point, the disappointment of failing in that quest, which whether they talked about it daily or not, was obviously on their minds all year. The fear of that disappointment, I think, outweighed the celebration of winning. And I have no idea if it will be that way for the Chiefs or not.
Fear can drive you. Fear can be the ultimate driving factor in situations like this. And I can only imagine. Think about all the time that these guys have put in.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like these guys have played a lot of games over the past few seasons, and to have an opportunity squarely in your sights to do something no one else can talk about, and you come up short, I guarantee you, when it's all said, when their career is all said and done, if that were to happen, that would be the one thing that they would point to.
Shefty just said it. You remember those losses more than you remember those victories. And I've talked to guys that have lost the Super Bowl, and they've said, I'd rather not get to that game than to get all the way to that point and fall short. I could have been home months ago watching and seeing these guys chase that ring than to know I had that opportunity right there in my hands and I let it slip away. So that disappointment, that fear of failure, which drives so many greats, it's a tough one to have to swallow if you fall short.
So it's something that Mahomes, if he's playing golf with anyone from Tom Brady to Joe Montana to Terry Bradshaw and anybody else.
Hell of a group. Hey,
did you guys win 3 in a row? Because I won 3 in a row.
We all have egos.
Yeah.
Let me tell you that. We all got. And if you got that type of trump card, that speaks volumes.
And have you seen the get-up ratings? Green's ego's going to be huge.
I mentioned it was our second biggest month in our history. And the Eagles are playing to try and win a championship. The Chiefs are playing to try and make history. A three-peat would be on the other end of that title. Here's what Travis Kelce had to say about that on his New Heights podcast with his brother.
It hasn't been mentioned one time outside of being asked about it in the media. Everybody in the building is just focused on, doing their job. That's how we got here. That's how we got the first one. That's how we got the second one. It's the only way you win football games and get to the Super Bowl is if you focus on the task at hand. For sure. And we got a huge task coming up.
Such an interesting thing about the mentality, right? Because on some level, obviously they are very aware of what is out there for them. But I think the point that Travis is making there is if we're thinking about that, we're thinking about the wrong thing.
But do teams, any team, talk about winning a Super Bowl title or a championship? No, they're going through their day and they're going about their business. They're not discussing what it would be like to win the championship, to three-peat, to become the first team in NFL history, to do something that nobody else ever has done. But it has to hang over the entire franchise. Everybody is fully aware of it at all times because it's such a significant accomplishment. It's just not something you talk about. And I said in the first hour, I'll say it again because I think it's true. The ratings of the show. You don't talk about the ratings. We never talked about the ratings, but you're aware of it all the time, and you want the show to have the best ratings possible. It's just not something that's spoken about on a regular basis, except with you and your wife.
Yes, no, and me and many other people. But that's neither here nor there. So we had a little bit of a conversation about this earlier, and something else has occurred to me. So this idea of focusing on the process, not focusing on the result. I get it, but I watch every single week in the National Football League, players score touchdowns, And there's no doubt that they have put time, energy, and effort into what their celebration is going to be. I watch defenses cause a turnover, and then I watch them run down to the end zone, all of them, like 10 of them in there, and do some choreographed celebration that they obviously spent time, energy, and effort putting into it. That's not process, right? That's like after practice, they're like, okay, when we get a turnover, so we have time to think about what we're going to do when we score a touchdown and what we're going to do when we get a turnover, but we don't have time to talk about what we're going to do when we win a third consecutive Super Bowl, which no one has done in the entire modern era?
Because what's understood sometimes doesn't need to be discussed. And that's the mindset, I believe, of the Kansas City Chiefs. They know they're going for a three-peat. Like, they may discuss it with their family members, but amongst each other, this group, a few years ago, right, when they won the second one, they had a group of young guys. And I said at that time, man, all these young guys getting this experience early is going to help them out in the long run. And now they're going for their third one. So when you've been there and you've done it, and then you add more additions to it, a lot of when you look at DeAndre Hopkins, he wanted to go to a contender for what? To be able to win a Super Bowl. So when you have a chance to make history, what's understood doesn't need to be discussed amongst each other. Like, you know what the goal is, and that's to be the first team in NFL history since the merger to three-peat.
Does it add, one of the questions that came up this morning in our meeting is if it adds an additional layer of pressure, and I think it's an interesting question, because if you let your mind go there, and maybe they don't, like Teddy Bruschi, to this day, how long ago was 2017 years ago?
Yeah.
Teddy Bruschi, if you sit and have dinner with him, as we do every Saturday night for Sunday NFL Countdown, if you get him talking about the perfect season and falling that one game short, like, the pain is instant. Like, he still feels it 17 years later, having that kind of history in your grasp and falling just short of it. That feels to me like what this is, something that no one has done, something you know you will have over everyone forever. Does it add an additional layer of pressure on this team?
I think it does. I get to the New England Patriots in 2018. They're coming off a Super Bowl loss to the Philadelphia Eagles, the same team that was getting ready to play, in a game where Tom Brady was absolutely on fire. And I'm on the defensive side of the ball, and all of those guys talked about that season of wanting to get back to that game and having a better performance. We go out there and we beat the Rams. To a lot of people, you say the most boring Super Bowl ever. To guys on that side, on the defensive side of the ball, it was so meaningful to hold the team to 3 points after a year before that you gave up 700 points to the Eagles and felt like you couldn't stop a nosebleed. So I do think it's added pressure, and it is on the minds of the guys. You talked about what you just said of guys thinking about touchdown celebrations, all those things. You're crazy if you don't think Travis Kelce has thought about what he's going to say on the stage after they win 3 in a row, what catchphrase is going to be, what song he's going to go out there and say. It's going to be something. You think about those things in those moments of celebration.
How about it, D-Wood?
Oh, you think about it. Guys have talked about it amongst themselves. But you got to keep the main thing the main thing. You know, I always talk about, man, that every Super Bowl that I was ever a part of, that whole week, it just felt like I was in a tunnel. And the only time I saw the light was when that confetti came down. I didn't want any, like, you don't ever want the pain of regret. You don't ever want to say, oh, you know, we got distracted by this, we talked about this, and not stay focused on the process. Because at that point in time, once you win and all these things come out, you the first team to win three Super Bowls in a row, bro.
You're iconic.
You are
That's
like,
history, man.
You want to know what I'm doing that offseason? Right. Oh my God, I can't even talk about it on television.
But you talked about the pain of regret, and you referred to Teddy Bruschi. And I believe as much as this Chiefs team thinks about becoming the first team ever to win 3 Super Bowls, they don't want to be the team that fell short, because that would hurt more than the actual win would feel good. That would stay with them even more. Again, you talked about the celebrations in the Bulls locker rooms becoming more and more muted over time. It would be the same thing here. They would be really happy, but the celebration wouldn't match up to the first celebration and wouldn't mean as much, but it would mean an awful lot if they lost, and they would feel that the pain would be more palpable there than the happiness would be if they become the first team to.
Well, you mentioned the Bulls, and obviously I've been making this comparison throughout these last couple of weeks. The person Mahomes is chasing is Jordan. And Michael, if you're up and you're watching right now at the Grove down there before you go out and play around this morning, you'll remember that in 96, when they went 72-10, they had a phrase that they used all the time. It don't mean a thing if you don't get the ring. They set the record for most wins. Like the Bulls won 72 games and won the championship. The Warriors won 73 games and did not. Who had the better season, right? Everyone, there's not one player in history who wouldn't take the first of those options. So again, everything comes down to this. Not that it invalidates, and they're already, two-time champs, three-time champs, whatever it is. But there's a lot of pressure involved.
But I'm thinking about a flip side too of this. If the Eagles don't win, now they're the team. Jalen Hurts would be the quarterback that lost to Patrick Mahomes. It would stay with them, and that sting would be hard. That's what the stakes in these games.
Listen, I said it earlier. That's why I would have went for the rushing record. I'm greedy. I want it all. I want the rushing record and I want the ring. Because you don't get the ring. How does Lane Johnson and all them boys feel when you had the opportunity right in your grasp to get that?
Hold that thought. Ashley is our producer. Let's come back to that.
How's it going, everybody? Villa Sports Network here. Just want to thank you guys for your support on the channel. Thank you guys for watching the video. Hope you all enjoyed it. Also want to kind of remind you to don't forget to leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment on the video if you like as well. But regardless of the fact, thank you again for your support, and hope to see you on the next video.